Boom. Yes, you are. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. Today is Tuesday, the 25th of November, 2025, 25/11/25. And we are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We are streaming on YouTube. And we are streaming at WYAB.com. You can always pick us up on the stream, but we've got that 50,000-watt blowtorch, and we're all over Mississippi, and you can always pick us up there. And we appreciate everybody who either tunes in on the radio or on the stream. The number, if you want to be part of the show today, and it's going to be a great show, is 601-879-0002. The text line is open at 601-879-5060. So there are multiple ways to get involved with the show today. In the job or the mission statement here at the Andrew Gosser Show, it is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? You all are the saints. And let me tell you, everybody, it's just been such a whirlwind of 24 hours. So much has happened. I hope everybody's doing all right after the storms this morning. We had the alarm go off at the farm. Everybody's okay. Didn't have to actually even go out and check in on everybody. I could hear my dogs barking, and everybody's doing great. So I'm grateful and thankful for that. Just remember, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word, it's going to start some anger. But that doesn't mean that we don't talk about the things that need to be talked about, and we don't run away from confrontation. Oh, no, no, no. We talk about it. It makes us stronger. It allows us to debate better. And that way we can get our point across, our point of view, and we can start winning some of these local debates. There is so much to talk about today. My show prep, there wasn't too much here locally, but there's all sorts of stuff nationally that I want to talk about. And to be truthful, when it comes to me personally, where I'm focused in, obviously the military, being a military guy, it's a big deal to me. And what Mark Kelly is doing, Captain, United States Navy, retired. This is an example for all of us out there who are retired military. Doesn't matter whether you're an O or an E. If you are retired, you might not remember this from your TAP class, which stands for Transition Assistance Program, but we have rules that we still have to follow that civilians don't. And when you violate those rules, if you put yourself on the Secretary of War's radar scope, he just might put a single target track on you, and now you're going to be in trouble. And that is exactly what is happening with Mark Kelly. It could happen to some other people too. Now, the other 5 Congress critters who joined Mark Kelly, they were active duty military. And they, are in Congress now. However, they did not retire from the from the military. They did their service commitment and they moved on. But what happened to Mark Kelly? Oh my goodness! And like we were talking about yesterday, man, I used to walk by his airplane every day at Fighter Wing. It's just such a small world. And I've got the show prep is done. The computer's working. Life is great. I do have to say, I've got this handsome young man in the studio today. Brother Blake is in here. He is not a guest, although we might actually kind of reorientate a few things to get the microphone over here. But he is learning how to run the board, which is really exciting because it's important for me as a senior GOP type of person to make sure that the young bucks get in and get a chance to go ahead and do some great and amazing things. And it doesn't matter whether you're 17 or 27, you're always willing to learn. You got to take advantage of those opportunities. And that's what Brother Blake is doing. And he's sitting here watching me work the computers and do all that. So we're excited with that. And with that, I am jumping to X because I am specifically using both the Department of War and Pete Hegseth's tweets to go ahead and start this story. And I want to start with what Pete Hegseth said about the seditious 6. And of course, as you know, whenever I do this, I always repost on my X account when it's working. And I've just done that. So if you are not following me on X, you can. It's just at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. And you can go ahead and see what I'm talking about here. And this is coming from the Secretary of War, the Honorable Pete Hegseth, a war fighter, not necessarily a general or an admiral who is just worked up the ranks in the military politically, but was out there shooting and looting, leading a platoon and doing the hard work. So we're excited for that. The video made by the Seditious Six was despicable, reckless, and false. And first of all, I agree with that. As a military officer, it doesn't matter whether you were 01 or a 010. It doesn't matter. Yes, there is a 010. It rarely ever happens anymore. We haven't had a 5-star admiral or general in quite a while, but nonetheless, they're out there. Encouraging our warriors to ignore the orders of their commanders undermines every aspect of good order and discipline. And it's true, because when you have people who are captains, I mean, captains in the Navy either command ships or they command air wings. And it's very prestigious to be a CAG or a captain of a ship, or in Captain Kelly's case, he was the commander of fighter wing. He was the top F-14 officer in the Navy. He was responsible for the F-14s in Japan, the F-14s on the West Coast, the F-14s on the East Coast. He was the man who was making all the program decisions. So when you're looking at this guy has credibility built in to something that he says. Someone looks at him, captain, and not only that, he's a 4-time astronaut. 4 times. You got to be pretty special to get 4 rides like that. Their foolish greed sows doubt and confusion, which only puts our warriors in danger. And I agree with that, but it does more than just putting our warriors in danger. It's putting our nation in danger, because now all of a sudden we're starting to have doubt in the leadership of our military. And I can tell you, we're not doing anything like that. We're in good hands with Pete Hegseth. And I can tell you that not just because it's my own personal political beliefs, but I can look at recruiting through the roof. Job satisfaction in the military is on the rise. Even though our operations tempo is picking up, people are digging what's going on in the military right now, and they're happy to be there. 5 of the 6 individuals in that video do not fall under the Department of War jurisdiction. 1 is a CIA officer, and 4 are former military officers, but not retired. So they are no longer subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the good old UCMJ. However, Mark Kelly, retired Navy commander, is still subject to the UCMJ. And every officer and every enlisted person who goes out and retires, we go through something called transition assistance program, TAP. And we know that what we're supposed to do and what we're not supposed to do. I mean, I can't say which TAP class Captain Kelly went through, but I can tell you the program that I went through at Tyndall Air Force Base, man, they were on it. And they pulled all of the retired officers aside and said, look, you still are responsible for the things that you say and do out there. And there's a way to, I remember clear as day, they can claw us back, pull us back. As was announced, the department is reviewing his statements and actions, which were addressed directly to all the troops while explicitly using his rank and service affiliation, lending to the appearance of authority to his words. Isn't that just what we were talking about? You know, when people see a retired military officer honorably who is serving in public, look, I used that to my advantage when I was running for public office. There is nothing wrong with that. People knew that if I got in to be their county supervisor, or their highway commissioner, they might not like some of the decisions I made, but they knew everything was gonna be out in the open, and it was, and people know it, and it bothers them. But if you go ahead and use that public trust, that confidence to breed dissension within the ranks, well, now there's a problem. Kelly's conduct brings discredit upon the armed forces and will be addressed appropriately. That line right there coming from the Secretary of War, when I saw that, the first thing I would have done, I would have lawyered up and I would have immediately had no further comment about this. But he didn't. Pete Hegseth just posted this 3 hours ago. And well, let me get to the actual Department of War post because I think that's important. And then we'll go in on the end and talk about uh, just another foolish and unforced error that has happened here. And this is an official statement from the Department of War. So with Mark Kelly, no one is diminishing his service, whether it was in the United States Navy or with his service to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. No one is attacking that service or even saying that it was dishonorable or something's wrong. No one is saying that. What military officers are saying who are honorably retired is you can't do that. And it's just not us saying that because we don't like his political affiliation or his views. We have the right to go out there and criticize and do certain things. But when you start undermining the good order and discipline of the United States military, when you start saying things that could be construed as seditious, well, now there's a bigger problem. And it's once the cat's out of the bag, we're in trouble. And when we get back from this commercial break, I will read to you the official statement of what the Department of War is saying. And if Mark Kelly doesn't have his attorneys lined up yet, I'm just take a little bit of advice from good old Sponge, sir. You might want to lawyer up because this is truly an unforced error. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. It's both of those buttons right there. Yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Got Brother Blake in the room. He's sitting here. We moved the mic over. Blake, you doing all right?
Yes, sir. How about you?
Try that again.
Doing good. How about you?
Yeah, that doing great, doing great. Look, we were talking in the last segment, and caller, if you want to call in now, I'll try to take your call. But we were talking about Mark Kelly, and now it's to the point to where the Department of War is stepping in and saying, Captain Kelly, you are going to have to come to the carpet. The Department of War has received serious allegations of misconduct against Captain Mark Kelly, United States Navy, retired. And whenever you have a major department of the United States government saying that they're alleging allegations of misconduct upon you, that is the clue bird. If you know what the clue bird is, you know. But that is your clue that you are going to either have to A, course correct, or B, you are about to be called to the carpet. And here's where it gets sticky, everybody. I honestly don't see any wiggle room to have Mark Kelly get out of this, but we'll see. In accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice, 10 United States Code, Section 688, and other applicable regulations. So they're already pointing to the exact code inside of the law. A thorough review of these allegations has been initiated to determine further actions, which may include. So right there, it's not looking good, but it says which may include. So I don't know if he's going to try to cut a deal. I mean, I'd be having my lawyers saying, "Get me the heck out of this and get away from this," but he's already too far gone with this. Which may include recall to active duty for court-martial proceedings or administrative measures. Yikes. I'm 53 years old. Good old sponge don't want to go back to active duty. If they recall me because something was going down, that's fine. But being recalled to active duty for allegations of misconduct, no, thank you. And just because he's retired doesn't mean that he still doesn't fall under the UCMJ. This matter will be handled in compliance with military law, ensuring due process and impartiality. Yep. And for those of us who are in the Navy and Marine Corps, we all know about those sea lawyers out there, right? Those sea lawyers got it all figured out. They got it all figured out, and it's until right when you walk in the courtroom, and you see that judge advocate general sitting there, or you see your commander sitting there about ready to dispense some military justice. Not good, not good. Further, official comments will be limited to preserve the integrity of the proceedings. So what this is basically saying is, Brother Mark, you've been put on notice. Lawyer up, because it's about to get serious. The Department of War reminds all individuals that military retirees remain subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice for all applicable offenses and federal laws, such as 18 United States Code, Section 2387, which prohibits actions intended to interfere with the loyalty, morale, or good order and discipline of the armed forces. So the fact that they're already now citing two sections of the United States Code lets me know that the case is already been built in the back, and now they're going to start filling everything out. It's actually a sad day for the United States Navy and America, because Mark Kelly did a lot of great stuff, and it appears with his video that he made, and we're going to break down the video here in a little bit, because even though we played it 2 or 3 days ago, or last week, or on Monday, I believe, it requires more comment. Any violations will be addressed through the appropriate legal channels. All service members are reminded that they have a legal obligation under the UCMJ to obey lawful orders, and that lawful orders presumed to be and that, I'm sorry, I lost my spot there. All service members are reminded that they have legal obligation under the UCMJ to obey all lawful orders and that orders are presumed to be lawful. A service member's personal philosophy does not justify or excuse the disobedience of an otherwise lawful order. And I want to spend some time and marinate in this a little bit. All orders are assumed to be lawful. Do you know why? We've got what 2.1 million people on active duty and another like 700,000 reservists. Could you imagine if Airman Snuffy out at Adak, Alaska decides that his superior officer didn't give him a lawful order? Oh, I'm not doing that. The military would crumble. The military would crumble. The truth of the matter is we are given orders all the time. We are given orders all the time that we don't like. I can remember Petty Officer Bachman, retired as a lieutenant in the United States Navy. He came up to me and goes, Andy, you don't have to wanna. You just have to. It stunk, man. We had to go out and just do craziness in jobs that weren't fun. And quite frankly, they were in some very austere conditions that most Americans would find unacceptable. That's the best way to put it. Working on the pitching deck of an aircraft carrier at 2:30 in the morning in the rain, dangerous, slick as heck, all sorts of safety danger, all sorts of craziness. That doesn't excuse me from saying, Petty Officer Bachman, your order is unlawful. No, it's totally lawful. It's totally within his rights. And what you have here are political people trying to insert themselves into a military situation using their past military experience, station, and service to try to go ahead and undermine what the President of the United States is doing, what the Secretary of War is doing, and what the commanders below them are trying to do. They're all out there trying to carry out the plan of the day. And they're all out there trying to make sure that you, Mr. and Mrs. America, living out here in Mississippi, don't have to worry about the things that are overseas coming to get us. If that means that, hey, we've got to go in and get some military combatants, then that's what we're going to do. And that the military spends so much, like they spend so much time, money, and energy on the UCMJ, making sure that you truly understand what an unlawful order is, what a lawful order is. And I mean, it's not just like one of those computer-based trainings where you sit there and you click the mouse really quick and you can't click it too fast because they got the timer on it, so it kind of auto flows and everything. And you take the test at the end. No, this is serious, serious stuff. And the reason I'm saying all this is because, if it's a young airman with 2 years in and he gets out and he does something foolish, well, he doesn't fall under that. But retired officers do. And everybody says, Andy, you only retired as a captain. Well, I did almost 10 years as an enlisted man and almost 11 as an officer. So I went up to captain, and that's where I went out. And that was a great career. Captain Mark Kelly, he started off as an officer. He had a great career. And frankly, he should know better. I knew better. How is it that a captain knew, a Air Force captain knew, but a Navy captain didn't? And real quick, I can already see the text coming in. What is the difference between Air Force captain and a Navy captain? And I'm going to say a lot. An Air Force captain is a 03, which is equivalent to a Navy lieutenant. It is a company grade officer, the highest company grade officer, but that's that first group of officers, your lieutenants and your captains. In the Navy, it would be your ensigns and lieutenant JGs. So it's a lower officer. A captain in the Navy is a field grade officer. It's right below a general or an admiral. much more responsibility there. You are expected a lot more is expected out of a '06 than it is a '03. And the fact that we are having to have this conversation on the 25th of November, 2025 is staggering to me, but I don't know if we've ever had this kind of deal before. But when we get back, we're going to point out a few more cracks that are coming down, and we're going to point out that we are about to have a modern day version of fool around and find out inside the United States Navy or inside the United States military. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Yeah, you are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We are just talking about Navy Captain Mark Kelly and some of the craziness. Um, there, there's one more part to this story that I want to talk about, and I'm pulling it up. And it's not stolen valor, but it is that attention to detail that is expected by all military members, regardless of rank, regardless of position. You are expected, if you are going to wear your medals, to put them in the right order. And we're going to start off with Senator Mark Kelly's response to this. And it's a good response. When I was 22 years old, I was commissioned as an ensign in the United States Navy and swore an oath to the Constitution. I upheld that oath through flight school, multiple deployments on the USS Midway, 39 combat missions in Operation Desert Storm, test pilot school, 4 space shuttle flights at NASA, and every day since I retired, which I did after my wife, Gabby, was shot in the head while serving her constituents. So, that paragraph right there is him doing a call to his position, his call to authority. And look, what I think Captain Kelly's missing, and what many liberals are missing, is nobody is denying what he said or did in the military. His service is truly excellent. It is really good. However, what you did after you retired is the problem. And everybody knows, political violence is bad. And what happened to Gabby Giffords, Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, is despicable. And I don't know anybody who condones what happened to her. Uh, you know, look what happened. I mean, it's unfortunate, but in the price of our liberty and freedom is that our politicians sometimes are attacked and shot and unfortunately killed. Whether that be the state representative in Minnesota who was shot and killed, whether that be Gabby Gibberts, who was shot and permanently suffers damage to this day, and we rebuke that, we don't condone that, or whether it's the murder and martyrdom of Charlie Kirk. Andrew, Charlie Kirk wasn't a politician. He wasn't well, he was certainly an influential figure. I would say he was a political figure. He wasn't elected, but he had massive impact across this nation. And he was shot and he was killed for his beliefs. And what happened to Gabby Giffords is absolutely terrible, but as it pertains to this story, is completely irrelevant. Gabby Giffords, unless she told her husband to go out and do that, I don't know. But that to me does not play into this. In combat, I had a missile blow up next to my jet and flew through the anti-aircraft fire to drop bombs on enemy targets. At NASA, I launched on a rocket, commanded the space shuttle, and was part of the recovery mission that brought home bodies of my astronaut classmates who died on Columbia. That was brutal. Real story. I knew the F-14 dudes who actually we launched reconnaissance missions trying to find debris and do all that kind of stuff. Not going to get into all of that. But, no one is doubting his dedication while he was on active duty. And that's what he is. You can see him trying to manipulate the public into all this stuff. But those of us who are military dudes, we see right through it. I did all of this in service to this country that I love and have given me so much. Yep. And you did all that while on active duty. And sir, I'm sure people followed you and people wanted to serve with you. You don't just go to Navy test pilot school because you're a good pilot. It's because people like you and believe you have the right temperament, experience, intelligence to make wise decisions in the cockpit. And there is nobody who is going to argue that. Secretary Hegseth's tweet this is the first I heard of this. I also saw the president's post saying that I should be arrested, hanged, and put to death. I have not seen that. I didn't see where the president specifically called for anybody to be hanged or put to death. I did see the meme, Trump's meme, where he put all of those people behind bars. I don't necessarily go that far, but again, if you listen to the Clay Edwards show this morning, Clay and I were talking. I'm a glass half full kind of person. I am definitely a person who believes in justice and going down, but I would much rather speak sweetly. And then when I have to drop the hammer, there's just, well, I can't say the saying I want to say, but people just scatter and we correct the situation. If this is meant to intimidate me and other members of Congress from doing our jobs and holding this administration accountable, it won't work. Well, no one's trying to intimidate you, Captain. But we're saying you have to follow the rules, and you are specifically providing dissension within the ranks or giving the opportunity to young airmen, sailors, soldiers, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, and Guardians who might not have a firm understanding of the UCMJ. And now you are leading them down a path that is going to absolutely destroy their military career. This is kind of like Candace Owens saying, get a dishonorable discharge. Who cares? Everybody should care about it. You do not want a dishonorable discharge. You ruin your life. You ruin your life. If this is meant to intimidate me and other members of Congress from doing our jobs, holding this administration accountable, it won't work. I've given too much to this country to be silenced by bullies who care more about their own power than protecting the Constitution. Sir, that's your opinion. And you can have that opinion, but you can't tell the troops to disobey lawful orders. And you don't get to pick what the lawful orders are and what the unlawful orders are. And I've got to call into a JAG friend of mine. You got to be careful about this. And I'm asking, how often do people get charged on stuff like this? And I'm trying to find that out. But here's the kicker, Brother Blake, if you're looking at this. He shows a picture of his wings, Navy wings of gold, hoorah, naval aviation, his commander's pin, and he's got all his ribbons there and his medals. Like that looked pretty awesome, don't it? I mean, that's pretty incredible. And then Pete Hegseth chimes in, and this is where it kind of gets sticky for me. And I want to just make sure I have fact check this, and I have. So, quote unquote, Captain Kelly, not only did your sedition video intentionally undercut the good order and discipline, but you can't even display your uniform correctly. Your medals are out of order and rows are reversed. When and if you are called back to active duty, I'll start with a uniform inspection. And dude, I'm just like, dude, that hurts. I don't have, like, I got something that's about equal to that right there. That's his Navy comm. You know, I've got a couple of Air Force comms, Navy Achievement Medal. You know, I took pride in making sure that I didn't wear a medal that I didn't deserve, and I made sure that everything was correct in a row. Now, you know when you expect to see medals out of order and things, you're brand new enlisted troops who don't even know how to tie their boots. And you've got a Navy captain, test pilot school graduate, astronaut, combat pilot who can't even get his medals right. And now you're expecting the rank and file of the military to follow you. All I can think of is ESPN back in the day. Come on, man. Come on. People are asking me to retweet that. If you go to Andrew Gosser on X, you can see it and you can make the decision for yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. But let me tell you this, and I got my vet buddies all texting and saying, you go. And all of the veterans who out there who take this seriously, who have given their lives, given their health, sacrificed their bodies, and are miserable at 45 because of all of the craziness that we did when we were 21 to 38 and thought we were invincible. We're sitting there fine. I'll tell you what, man, I hit 50 and I was like, what happened to me? This is like the ultimate. It's not the ultimate disrespect, but it just shows a lack of attention to detail. I can hear, and I raised my kids that way. I'm like, you know what? You don't have to go in the military, but you will have attention to detail. And they're 29 and 27, and they'll come back if I do something. Dad, what about your attention to detail? Ooh, you want to talk? That is like painful to go through. I don't know where this Mark Kelly story is going. And in the next segment, I'll try to find a video or in the audio of it to play it for y'all because I do believe it's important. But I do not want the people of Mississippi and in this audience to be bamboozled by what's going on with Captain Kelly here. He deserves his day in court. The Department of War, the Secretary of War, and the President say you can't do that. And I can't honestly remember a time in my life where I've had a retired officer come out and say the type of stuff that he's saying. I just can't. And let me tell you, I know some crusty aircraft carrier commanding officers who didn't get picked up for admiral. And you know, maybe he's a little salty there. But when I think back about all my commanders in the Air Force and all my commanding officers in the Navy, because they do call them their differences between the services. I have never seen anything like this. It is a really big deal. It is those small little things that little bit of attention to detail, which can make or break a career. You know, you're flying and you're supposed to be flying at heading 270. That doesn't mean heading 271 or 269. That means you are at 270. If I'm supposed to be at 31,500 feet, that doesn't mean 31,400. That means 31,500. The little things matter in life, not just in the military, but in your life too. Whether you're talking with your spouse, where you're getting the kids to school or whatever. Anyways, I just thought that the first hour is almost gone already. We got to take our commercial break. You are listening to Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. Time keeps on slipping into the future, but I ain't slipping. I'm not letting any of this stuff slip on by. I realize that time goes by so fast on the show, and we really value our time together. But let me tell you something. It is absolutely critical that we hold each other to account. And the ribbons is one thing. It's definitely uh, something that we need to hold accountable to, but that is so inconsequential. That is just more of a symptom. That is just more of a symptom of a problem than a real big problem. I don't get what Captain Kelly's doing there. He is now about to enter into the find out phase, and it's honestly sad because it's gonna be a stain and a mark on an otherwise brilliant military career. You never wanna see that happen, but it is what it is, and it's not it's not like this hasn't happened before where a senior military officer has made a poor decision, which has cost them their command or their career, um, and this is the bigger problem that I see with this. As we go down this road that we're on this path right now where we're becoming more and more polarized, where social media is polarizing us more and more every day, things like this are going to happen and people are going to end up start doing things that they otherwise wouldn't normally do. They wouldn't normally do. And we have to be ready. We have to be ready to make sure that when we are out there, we can say, this is why Mark Kelly made the mistake that he made. You can't do this as a retired military officer. Not only do you fall under the laws of the land, but you also fall under the laws, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. In the next hour, we are going to talk about Alphabet. We are going to talk about people running for county boards. We're going to have Blake on the radio a little bit more. You are listening to The Andrew Gossett Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Yes, yes, you are. You are locked and loaded, tuned in to the Andrew Gosser Show on the 50,000 watt blowtorch of Mississippi, 103.9 WYAB. Look, don't call the show in the commercial breaks. That's not, no. We want to have this conversation in the open. So if you want to do that, the number is 601-879-0002. Text line is open. We're going to get to text as soon as we get done with the intro here. That number is 601-879-5060. And we are streaming on Rumble. And we are streaming on X. And we are streaming on YouTube. And we are streaming at WYAB.com. Please follow me on X at Andrew Gosser, ANDREWGASSER. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show, standard. We are here to equip the saints. We want you out there doing your thing in your neck of the woods, holding down your end of the fort. We'll take care of it from our end, and we'll meet somewhere in the middle. It's going to be great. Look at, we talked about Commander or Captain Mark Kelly in the first hour. We tried to make it simple, and I thought we actually did a really good job of not making it a personal attack on him or anything like that. We pretty much stuck to the facts. We did kind of rib him a little bit for getting his medals out of order. Maybe we can send in like a Marine Corps gunnery sergeant, send him back to OCS and give him some remedial training there, get him back on the deal there, because how a captain has his medals out of order. My goodness gracious. But I got a whole bunch of different texts coming in about this. You've got to, and this is coming in for Brother Rick, you've got to be pretty smart to have a forward thinking. You've got to be pretty smart and have forward thinking to be a commander and catch 4 rides to space. So he knew what he was doing. Was it an error or a play? He had to know the Department of War would come after him. I agree with you, Brother Rick. No, I don't think he knew that the Department of War would go as far as he did. He thought he would get a talking to. He thought he was safe, because I can't believe that a Navy captain would make such an egregious error like that. And you've got Dogfish piling in saying, yes, Mark Kelly was very nervous about his comments. And I've got other people saying that, Mark Kelly didn't think this was going to happen, but it did. And we appreciate, I got all these text messages too here. Let's see what all these other people are saying. People are just saying that they were really shocked. I can't read that one. Put that one down. We're just going to say that some of you veterans out there still thinking that you got that military mouth going with some really colorful language, that I am working every day to try to forget the colorful language stuff, but I fail. Brother Blake, how's it going?
It's going good,
Dude, that's awesome, man. Real quick, with respect to where we can find you on the World Wide Web, where can we find you?
You can find me Blake Bartlam on Facebook, X, TikTok, and then MS for Trump on YouTube. So you can find me all over the place. And social media is my big claim to fame.
Yep.
So.
Are you enjoying your Thanksgiving week off?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank God for it, because I've been able to actually, instead of just being stuck in a classroom for 8 hours every single day, I've been able to do what I love. So, yesterday went to the gym, went on the radio yesterday with you.
That was awesome.
And then I got to have lunch with someone running for supervisor in Rankin County District 2, Daryl Palmer, and helping him out in the runoff election December 2nd, Tuesday. Biggest thing on him is that he's not huge on the overdevelopment of Rankin County.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I know a lot of people are scared of. And that happens in Madison County too, is you want it to still be the rural Mississippi place that you grew up in and that you come to know and love, and not like almost like Jackson Light, if you will. You know what I mean? So, and that's really what I want to help him out on. And then also we're going to be door knocking Saturday for Adam Woods in the District 3 judge race in Rankin County, because he's got a radical left opponent that he's running against. And he needs all the help he can get. That runoff's also on December 2nd. So I'm really thankful to God that I have this week where I've just gotten to do what I love. And I'm excited that it keeps going.
The political bugs kind of bit you a little bit, hasn't it?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So with respect to Daryl, when you had lunch with him, what did you like about it? How is he articulating his vision for Rankin County?
Yeah, he's open and honest about it, and like I said, the main thing that I really wanted to hear out of him was that we don't need to overdevelop Rankin County. And a lot of these rural areas where there's the farms and everything like that, like that doesn't need to eventually become another, strip mall or whatever. Like it needs to keep the Rankin County charm that I've grown to love and so many other people have. And he was so honest about that, and he's willing to acknowledge that a lot of the economic growth is great, but there's some absolute downsides to it as well. And I think Flowood's starting to see some of that. So that's just what I like to hear from him.
I can tell you that too. Living in Hinds County down in Terry, it's very rural down there. Absolutely love it. And there are homesteads available that are small as an acre and a half, and some of them that are big as 200 acres,
Right.
300 acres. Let's keep that. We want to keep that. I promise you, you do not want to go down the Illinois Chicago route, where when I grew up, it was all farm fields and just beautiful place, and now it's nothing but roads and houses that are falling apart, not taken care of.
And I was up north the last few days for some family stuff, and that's how it is up there right now. It's just everywhere you go, it's just roads and these not lower income, but like just crappy infrastructure that doesn't really, doesn't do a whole lot except stimulate it for a couple of years, and then it just sort of, starts to rot away. And you can go to parts of Jackson like that are like that right now.
Yep.
So it's just something, it's great for a little bit, but the long-term effects of it are definitely showing up. And I don't want that to happen to a place that I've lived my whole life, and a place that I love.
What I found, Blake, is that people who have I'm an Illinois refugee. I had to get out of there, right? And what I see is a lot of these people who are moving to Florida, moving to Texas, moving to Mississippi, Tennessee, South Carolina, is we have seen the effects of what unchecked liberalism and unchecked urban development actually cause. It destroys stuff. I mean, we were talking with Clay in the morning show. We were talking about affordable housing or Section 8 housing. You don't put that in a neighborhood with 5-acre homesteads.
No,
you don't. And the truth is we have so much property here in Jackson proper, where if you want to do affordable housing, go do it there.
Yeah.
But we want to
the
do
renovations alone. It's not like you have to even like build a whole new property. I mean, the framework of all those buildings is there because they're abandoned. So don't go and ruin. Don't go spread the problem further. Fix the problem where it is.
I agree with that. And not only that, you build all these homes. Now you've got to have jobs for that. And are you having? And it's what kind of economic growth are you bringing? Are you bringing in manufacturing? Are you bringing in high-end tech jobs, or are you bringing in Subway sandwich builders?
Right. And if you put in Section 8 housing, you have to have jobs that afford Section 8 housing, so that you're going to have like your McDonald's and stuff like that. And those jobs are great, but if you're kidding yourself if you think you can support a family with a job like that.
There is no such thing as a living wage. People always like to talk about that, especially the unions. But I'm telling you, people were not supposed. When we were growing up, they would say, go get your first job at McDonald's or restaurant or whatever, but don't expect to raise a family on that.
Because you really, I mean, do you really think you should be getting paid $15, $20 an hour to be sticking fries into a plastic cup?
I just no, I don't. And the times have changed where the living wage or the minimum wage in Illinois was $5.25 an hour compared to now. I think they're at like 15. And we've seen what happens when economies try to do that. Look at California, and their
states don't get richer; they get poorer. Not people do.
All those low-end jobs, which people were working 2 or 3, like they go to McDonald's from 7 to 4, and then from 5 to 10 they'd work at Burger King, and then they go home. They lined it all up, but they closed it all down because of they couldn't pay the service sector what they thought they were worth. And this isn't racist or hateful or anything like that. This is the reality of California. You can go ahead and do your own research, and you will see that's what's happening there. That's why I get excited when I see these big investments in real infrastructure into our community.
Yeah.
So Daryl's big into that. Were there any other issues that you two spoke about that you thought were like, man, I kind of like this guy?
Well, we sort of talked about school choice, and I'm for school choice, but I understand people's hesitations towards it. And it is something that definitely we need to have a conservative approach about. And I think that's sort of where he was thinking as well.
Mhm.
Like, because if you're going to do this, like we see the benefits of it, and obviously that'd be great. But I mean, schools like Rankin County, like Northwest, like in Pisgah, they're growing a lot, and you don't need the influx of people and then wonder where you're going to get a lot of money. So I think it's a great thing. But I think the House bill that they want to get through, and we were talking about Senator Hartness yesterday,
Mhm.
it's a slower approach to this. You don't
Mhm.
want to just immediately go into it because we are conservative, and that's one thing I think
Yep.
I think it's where his mind is a little bit.
So one thing I know for certain is that the state and federal dollars that follow a student from around in the school choice is about $7,800.
Yeah.
But Northwest Rankin County spends roughly $13,000 to educate. So if you have somebody coming from inside of Jackson, bringing in that $7,000 to Rankin, Northwest Rankin, where's that other $6,000 coming
that's
from?
a really good question, and I think that's a conversation we can have. And if you were to ask me, and if you were to ask like Chad White's people, it's you take that money away from the bureaucrats. You take that money away from the administration, whose funding has gone up tremendously, while students' grades have only gone down, at least as far as averages are concerned.
I'm a school choice person as well, but I am very, very leery of sending people from outside their school districts into other public school districts. You send them to charter school, send them to private school, however you want to work that. But there can't be any additional burden on the local school district.
And that's what I like about the bill that Representative Owen's been talking about, is that the schools they can say no to a student if they want to. And I think that's great, because just like the parents have a choice, I think the schools need to have a choice as well.
I agree with that. And it's not like they're not being afforded a public education. They can go
get it. And he was talking about this. It encourages the schools where the kids want to leave to get better. And I think that's the real purpose of it, right? Is that parents aren't having to make that choice, because eventually all the schools are just going to be getting better. Like, you're kidding yourself if you think JPS and Northwest Rankin are on the same level right now. They're just not.
No.
But the goal is to hopefully get to where it would be a better place. And that doesn't just start with the schools. That starts with the economic conditions around the area. That starts with who you elect as mayor and who you elect as your city councilman in Jackson. So it's a bigger problem. It all winds together, but hopefully this is something that can start, heading us in the right direction.
I think that's definitely the right direction to go to. I'm excited because, dude, you know more about school choice than most of the people who call into the show. It's amazing how we have the youth of America, or the youths of America, as Rush used to say, out there doing good work and are educating themselves. You don't hold these Zoomers back. Don't discount them. They are educated.
You're going to regret it if you do. So I'll just say that.
Yeah, because Gen X, we worked hard. Don't get me wrong, but they have access to so much more data, and they are so good at refining the data, not to manipulate the data, but to refine the data to really find out what they're seeking and getting the information. And I'm just glad, Brother Blake, that you are out there, that you are helping the conservative movement. Hey, let's take this call. Let's see what happens here. Hey, go ahead. You're on the air.
Andrew, I just wanted to address minimum wage. Look, I know that there is a lot of banter, discussion, disgust, angst, whatever. Let's just explain minimum wage for what it is.
Okay.
Minimum wage is an entry level payment for an entry level of skill.
Right.
You cannot expect to pay your household budget on minimum wage. And minimum wage is designed for you to increase your level of skill so that you're not compensated by the bare minimum. But raising the bare minimum does not increase people's skill level, and it has made them incredibly lazy.
Yes, I agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
I Brother Bruce, I am right there with you. I really appreciate the phone call, man.
So, for California to raise minimum wage, New York to say they're going to raise minimum wage, you literally are pricing businesses out of the market because you're saying, I'm stupid enough to pay you an overpriced amount of money for your lack of skill.
Yep.
And that just makes no sense.
And we saw what it did to California is that how many thousands of places left Los Angeles and San Francisco and had to close their doors. So you winded up making the area a lot poorer. And you're exactly right. That's what you're talking about.
And so now California has the nation's first fully automated burger joint.
Wow.
You realize that?
That AI is coming for those jobs too.
Yeah, buddy.
Bruce, I appreciate the phone call, my friend.
You bet. Anytime, Andrew.
We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Everybody, that was Brother Bruce talking about minimum wage. That's a small business owner who's, paying taxes, actually providing a great service to his community. We're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to talk about Alphabet and what they're doing. What's Alphabet? Well, if you've been listening to the Andrew Gosser Show, you know that'd be the parent company of Google. But if you haven't listened to the Andrew Gosser Show before, prepare to get educated, everybody. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9. We will be right back. And we are back at the Andrew Gosser Show, moving and grooving here at the radio station. We are making things happen. Well, look, you know, Brother Bruce called in, and one thing that we've got to understand is if you're going to be out there doing work, you want to see what you're reading. You don't want to be sitting there squinting. You don't want to be sitting there moving your glasses up and down, trying to get the right angle for the right prescription. You need a new set of glasses. And when you need your new set of glasses, you need to go to iGear Optical, right there located on Highway 80 in Pearl, 2630 Highway 80 in Pearl. Bruce Bennett is the owner and operator of iGear Optical. And let me tell you, I've watched him treat his customers with dignity and respect, and they're always satisfied. You get that personal care that we've come to expect here in Mississippi. We just don't want to go into a big box store and get in, get done, get out. No, you want to make sure that your glasses not only work, but they represent you. So Bruce has got a wide selection of frames to choose from, and he's got glasses and frames available in all different sizes of budgets. So if you're looking for a new set of glasses, go ahead and reach out to my man Bruce over at iGear Optical in Pearl. They're open from Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Let them know that Andrew sent you over from WYAB. I sure would appreciate it. And with that, we are going to move into what I find one of my favorite subjects to research. And whenever it comes up, I smile a little bit. Alphabet, Google, Chrome, ad targeting. It's all under Alphabet. And guess what their new valuation is, Blake? If you had to guess, how much?
Ooh.
Over $1 trillion.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe 4.5, maybe.
$4 trillion, my man.
Okay.
On Monday, Alphabet closed in on a U.S. $4 trillion valuation after shares hit a record $315.90, giving it a market capitalization of, well, now they say $4 trillion in the headline, but then what do they immediately say? $3.82 trillion. What's $180 billion between friends, right?
Yeah. Right.
Math in public is pretty crazy. This year, Alphabet rebuilt momentum through Google Cloud and Gemini 3 by attracting Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway and earning strong early reviews from the Gemini 3 model. This is what we all need to understand about Google, Chrome, Alphabet. They are nothing more than a data collection agency that if your government was doing it, you'd be upset.
Yeah.
The government is doing it. You just don't realize it. And then Google gets all this and then they just give it all back. It's all up there.
Google, Palantir, they're all the same.
Yeah. So, it's what are we left to do? When back in the olden days when I was young, we had the bells, right? And we had to break up the bells. And that's where all AT&T and all these other companies came into. And we're just growing and growing and growing. And, we had that first $1 trillion valuation. And now all of a sudden there's 5 or 6 companies. Is this like hyperinflation or is this real monetary value? What is Google actually producing? What is Alphabet actually
it really is like the way that they've built their company is advertising, because you have so many eyeballs, whether that's just Google being a search engine or YouTube or all the other stuff that they have. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I mean, Google Chrome's a great search engine. I use it at school. Everyone uses it at school over Safari. It's just so much smoother and better. So, I mean, they do make a good product. Is it $4 trillion? I don't know about that, but
what I mean, that number is just so large and no kidding, astronomical.
Yeah.
I can't quantify it, but we have more and more companies out there that are getting bigger and bigger. And I'm at the point to where, look, at that point, it's like we're playing Monopoly. It's just a number.
And what they also do is, like you said, I mean, they swallow up all these other companies where it does become like you have, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, or 7 that that kind of control everything, really.
Yep.
And that's, I mean, I feel like we need to get back to the days of Teddy Roosevelt where we started to break up these trusts and stuff like that. I think that'd be something that would be really good.
I think it would be absolutely glorious, and I do mean glorious, if we got Ron Paul and Rand Paul into the Fed to just audit it. And you know what? They don't even just put the books out there for everybody to see, so we can see who's getting all paid for all this money. We are so sick and tired of our senators and congressmen going to DC to get rich, and they make all these rules and laws, right? Where all of a sudden a company like Google could come out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and $4 billion or $4 trillion, man.
It's because they buy these congressmen and women, right? I mean, they go in and they get them elected, so they're going to be beholden to them, and so that whatever laws they write, Google, Amazon, stuff like that, they're going to be exempt to it. And so, do you want to remove lobbying like that from Congress, or do you want to, limit campaign finance law, stuff like that? So that's where you start getting in that direction. But we'll know that that'll never happen. So
it all comes back to your conscience and your ethics, right?
Yeah.
Where do you get your conscience and ethics from? Do you just live in the world out there, and basically are beholden to the big tech oligarchy, or do you go back to your faith in God?
Yeah, exactly.
And people always, you hear politicians say, "Oh, I go to church." You are known by your fruit. And I'm just looking at some of the fruit of our congressmen and senators, and man, they're pretty fruity.
Yeah, right here in this state.
It's
Not to name
I-
names.
I've got a story from the Mississippi Free Press, that bastion of conservative thought.
Oh, absolutely.
Mississippi Free Press,
Huge.
they're so straightforward and great. U.S. Senator Roger Wicker says he sees serious issues with President Trump's proposed peace plan between the Ukraine and Russia, which will require Ukraine to surrender large portions of its territory. And you know what? We've got to take a break, but I do want to spend some time on this.
Yeah.
Not because I want to beat up the senator, but because I want people to know what our senator is thinking and how he's representing us. It's not that I'm not like going full in on it. I'm just letting you know what the Mississippi Free Press is saying about him. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9. We'll be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show. Brother Blake is starting to push the buttons, everybody. Matt, don't worry. Hold on. The station's not burning down. It's great. It's great. We're sitting here talking about the Mississippi Free Press and Senator Wicker. I'm not sitting here causing any aspersions or talking about that, but Senator Wicker is worried about the suggested peace deal between Russia and the Ukraine. And this is just me nitpicking, okay? So I'm not like trying to pick on anybody, but when I was in the military, I had the opportunity to wear other flags other than the United States flag. And, I worked in NATO, under NATO command, and you could do all sorts. I never did, unless I was ordered to do it. But, I didn't want, I worked with the Hungarians. I worked with the Polish, and it was cool. We trade badges, right? But you would never see me wear any type of other country. Respect, yes, but I'm an American. I represent my country, and that's what I want to do. So when I see senators and congressmen wearing these double lapel pins, it doesn't necessarily have to be the Ukrainian American flag. It could be the Israel and American flag. It could be the England and Ukraine or whatever. No, man. If you want to wear a double flag like that, how about the Mississippi flag and the United States flag? That's what I want to represent.
Yeah.
And so that's why I just see that it's a pet peeve of mine. I'm not sitting here whining and complaining, but Senator Wicker said this so-called peace plan has real problems, and I'm highly skeptical it will achieve peace. Ukraine should not be forced to give up its lands to one of the world's most flagrant war criminals in Vladimir Putin. The Republican senator from Mississippi posted on X on November 21st, 2025. The size and disposition of the Ukraine's armed forces is a sovereign choice for its government and people, and assurances provided to Putin should not reward his malign behavior or undermine the security of the United States or its allies. And what do you think about that?
I have some pretty heavy opinions on that. First and foremost, my question is, if this Trump was asked this question whenever Zelensky came to the White House the first time, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire? And he responded to this reporter perfectly. And what if a bomb drops on your head? You can't control the future. You can't predict the future. So what you need to do is make the best educated guess that you can and go with it from there. What do you suggest? Do you suggest us to keep fighting this war that is similar to World War I, where we're fighting over like mere inches of ground at this point, and it doesn't move more than 50 miles like over 3 months? What do you suggest? You suggest people to just keep dying about this every single day, this country that has been ripped apart?
Yep. Dude, we must have hit a nerve. Let's go ahead and take this phone call. See. Oh, hey, go ahead, caller. Are you there? Oh, well, they didn't want to talk that much. So, but I'm with you on that. As someone who's fought in wars and done that kind of stuff, we follow our commander in chief and the officers appointed above us. We follow their orders. We get that, Mark Kelly. And the whole thing is no warrior I know, nobody just wants to go to fight.
Yeah.
And this is just how I'm looking at Ukraine. I'm looking at it as a way for us to sell a bunch of our old weapons that we didn't use so that we can bring in the F-47. Oh, they're calling back. Let's see what happens here.
Bunch of our old weapons.
Hey, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hey, I don't know what happened. I just got the answering machine.
Oh my goodness!
I'll tell you something about my Senator Wicker through the years. He was always, when they done budgets, got to get Ukraine in. He got to get Ukraine in for $1 million. He's always, I've heard this 2 or 3 times. He's always got to take care of Ukraine. Got to take care of Ukraine. That's what he said. And if you go back, you can see, you can, I don't know exactly where you can find that, but you go back when they're doing budgets and stuff, got to take care of Ukraine. That's Senator Wicker. I ain't going to say no more about that. I've got my ideas, but you understand what I got thinking about it.
I appreciate the phone call, my friend.
Okay. You have a good day.
Yep.
Thank you.
So obviously the people out there are seeing it and are getting it.
I mean, that's why whenever Gannon Burton ran against him last go around, Gannon Burton maybe campaigned for about 3 months, really only like heavily for about 1, and we got 25% of the vote against Roger Wicker. So, and that's a senior citizen, senior senator from the state of Mississippi, who is the chairman of the Armed Services Committee. So, but it is very evident that Roger Wicker is beholden to the military industrial complex. Like the caller said, it's been obvious for years. Always had to get Ukraine in there. But once again, anyone who understands or has a basic understanding of geopolitical, the world right now, the reason Russia is so against Ukraine is because they view NATO as an aggressor towards them. Whether you agree with that or not is irrelevant. That is how Russia perceives it. And the more land that they have between NATO and Russia, the more safe Vladimir Putin feels and the Russian people feel. Like I said, whether or not you agree with that is irrelevant. That is how they perceive it. And whether you like it or not, they're a global superpower. Yep. So their opinion, it matters. So that is the reason why Vladimir Putin wants this land. And it's because NATO long said that Ukraine's not going to join NATO. Well, what does NATO try to do as soon as Joe Biden gets into office? Oh, we want to bring Ukraine on. We want to bring Finland on. So it's just they view NATO as an aggressor towards them, and that's why they're doing this. So the regions of Ukraine, the Donbass, and I forget the other one, but it's right there in eastern Ukraine. Those regions, believe it or not, they want to be Russian.
Yep.
It's mostly filled with Russian people. It's like the Sudetenland in Czechoslovakia, and it's like the Rhineland in France. Like these were Germanic peoples who wanted to be a part of Germany. Yep. Whether or not you think that they were evil, that's besides the point. That's just who lives there. Okay, so people just don't do their research on this stuff, and they just get in their feelings about this and everything. But that's besides the point. But that is what is here on the table. So this peace plan, do you want people to keep dying every day over like a few feet of land, or do you want to get peace so that maybe we can work this out where people aren't dying every single day?
That was one of the biggest promises that President Bush or President, where did that come from?
Goodness gracious.
President Trump made to Generation Z was that we're going to get out of these foreign wars. And he was actually on a roll. Granted, the last 2 months, he has had some pushback, some blowback, whether that be from what's happening in Venezuela or what's happening in the Ukraine. But you look at what's happened between Pakistan and India, or some of these other places where there's been wars breaking out, or the Abraham Accords. Now he's bringing on new. I mean,
and people. That's another thing. Yeah. Well, man, you're really getting me today, which is good.
Fire them up.
Yeah. So that's the thing that people are. Well, why is Trump trying to be friends with Saudi Arabia? And all? Trump is very keen on keeping your friends close, but your enemies closer. And do you want to have a sour relationship with all these countries in the Middle East forever? No. Your goal is that whether or not you agree with how they run their country, that's completely separate. Do you want to have war in there or not? Do you want American soldiers to have to go die in another war or not? That is a simple question in front of us. Do you want people to stop dying? How much do you value human life that God has created? That's a simple question we all have to answer. So, of course, we want the region to operate together. Of course, we want to bring peace. And that is, it just frustrates me that people don't get that. But
I want to fight to win. And this is going to be a political hot take on this. As someone who spent a significant portion of his life in Southeast Asia, whether it be on a boat or on the land or whatever, if I'm going to fight, that's one thing, but take the cuffs off and let's fight and let's win. We're the United States of America.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, we have the best toys out there to go do the job that needs to get done. Just take the handcuffs.
Found that out right now.
Well, that's going to be a whole nother FAFO situation. I don't know what that's Clay's line, so I don't want to take that. And if you're not listening to Clay Edwards from 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday, you should be. Great show. WYAB has great local radio hosts. We try to reach out and not only talk about the stuff locally, but we also put our local spin on things that are happening around the world. And we got a texter calling it Donbass and Donetsk.
Yeah, those are the regions. Yeah.
Yep. So
right there in eastern Ukraine. And like I said, they whether or not we believe the election or not over there, they had elections where the people voted to be a part of Russia. Now,
yep.
You can say, well, that's false. Whatever. Okay. But like the reality of the situation, you have a lot of people in that region of Ukraine, like it or not, that want to be a part of Russia.
Yep. And you can see that this is not like something that Brother Blake is just pulling out of his behind. You can go do your research, right? And the other thing that I'm loving about this conversation that we're having, I'm 53, you're 17, and you are bringing a viewpoint that people our age should be listening to, because we're getting, whether we want to admit it or not, Gen X, we're getting ready to hand this puppy off.
Mhm.
And we need to make sure that, number one, we don't hang on like the bitter clinger
Yeah.
boomer. And I hate to bust on the boomers, man, but y'all are a bunch of bitter clingers because they're holding on to that power. We have to go ahead and pass it on. And people are saying, oh, Andrew, you're a hypocrite. Well, you might think I'm a hypocrite, but I'm making sure that
So
I have,
you're actually passing it on.
I'm passing it on, my friends. Not that I'm going anywhere anytime soon.
Right.
I'm healthy as an ox. I'm not going anywhere, but I want to show and lead by example, saying that, look, this new generation of Americans coming up, they are very patriotic. They are very, very loyal to their country, but they don't want to be BS'd either.
And another thing, I just want to get it out before we go to break.
Yeah.
Ukraine can't withstand this forever. They just can't. They're a smaller country than Russia, and they don't have, unless the U.S. or other NATO countries was just willing to fork up like hundreds of billions of dollars every single year. Ukraine is and eventually they're just going to run out of people that can fight the war. And because that's the nature of the war that's going on over there, very slow, grueling conflict, but it still takes a lot of casualties because of the nature of the fighting over there. So Ukraine can't sustain this forever. So why don't you let them get peace, let them rebuild their nation, and then hopefully they can diplomatically work something out. And I'm going to be honest with you, Andrew. I trust President Trump in that negotiation room a lot more than almost anyone else in this world.
That he did write The Art of the Deal, and I did read that.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we're going to go to break. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that this is the Andrew Gosser Show. This is 103.9 WYAB, and we will be right back. Yeah, you are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show. It's been an awesome show. We've got Brother Blake Bartlum in the studio. Hey, brother, where can they find you online again?
You can find me Blake Bartlum, so BLAKE and then BARTLAM on X, Facebook, and TikTok. And that's where I'm most active right now. And that's love to get involved there and get more people engaged.
Yep. And this just came across my news feed coming from the Associated Propaganda by Konstantin Toropin. Pentagon threatens to court-martial U.S. Senator for urging troops to uphold oath, defy illegal orders. We don't know what illegal orders have been given because there haven't been. And I promise you, if there have been illegal orders given out there, it would come to light and you would be courts-martialed, and it's just ugly. And the one thing you can say about military discipline is when they decide to drop the hammer on you when you do something wrong, you're going to get paid. But let's read this. Washington. The Pentagon announced on Monday it is investigating Democrat Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona over possible breaches of military law after the former Navy pilot joined a handful of other lawmakers in a video that called for troops to defy illegal orders. Not one major news organization out there has been able to identify one illegal order.
Senator or Representative, I can't remember if she's a senator or not, but Elise Slotkin, who was one of the people in that video, said, yeah, there hasn't been any unlawful orders.
Really?
Yeah. She said that on ABC News yesterday or the day before.
How did I miss that? I'm going to have to get that sound. Yeah. We'll bring it tomorrow. We're going to go in on that because we're going to go hard. So there are no illegal orders. What this is just the Democrats stirring the pot, trying to cause dissension within the ranks, cause chaos. And when they create that, then that's how they go ahead and they try to gulp up more power from themselves. And let's be clear about this. This isn't just necessarily a Democrat thing. I believe, in my personal opinion, this is more of a deep state, over the top, whatever you want to call it, bureaucratic power move, where they're trying to scare. Not that it's going to work with President Trump or Pete Hegseth, but they're trying to instill fear in the people below them in different levels of leadership. And the truth of the matter is there's nothing illegal that we're doing. There's nothing illegal that we're doing. Dee Dee comment says, great show, Andrew. Hope to hear much more from Blake in the future. Oh, I promise you that's going to happen.
Thank you.
He'll be in here working the boards tomorrow. You know, great way to spend Thanksgiving break is to go ahead and do something like that. Look, you know, this might be the 2 fastest hours in radio.
Right.
We are moving and grooving. We are juking and jiving. We got our thing going on. We're doing our happy dance. And look, we're happy warriors. And we will do this all again in about 22 hours. So until then, take care, everybody. Be blessed. We'll talk to you soon.
Y'all.